Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, welcome back to another episode of my Aoe2 Expert Series, where I showcase some expert Age of Empires 2 gameplay and offer you some tips for advanced to intermediate level players. That way you too can learn how to improve at Age of Empires 2 by watching some of the best players that are out there. These are both 2K plus rated players on Voobly, so you know we're in for a good long game. Also, because I select these replays so that they are good games. That's one of the nice parts about me actually shifting over to a more replay casting oriented style, but basically back to my roots, because originally I was the first Age of Empires 2 caster, and eventually I just did like nothing but community games for a long time, and that didn't really seem to be working, as there's only so many silly gimmicks you can actually do, and it requires a lot of lobby simulator, and I felt like people got bored of that. And it's something that I got bored of too. But what never bores me is, well, besides this thing, is, actually no, luring wild boars is a really fun mechanic, is watching really skilled Age of Empires 2 play is something that personally never gets old to me. So right off the bat, small little tip, you see how both players are scouting with their sheep in the beginning to try and get just a little bit of extra vision. And even though the sheep's line of sight is absolutely pathetic, it honestly helps. You really only need, again, one sheep here, and just look at this. So by the way, just to introduce the players, we have, this is Hera, who is playing as the green Magyars. What's the scouter say about his tilt level? It's over 9,000! And then we've got Dogao, who will be our blue Magyars. This is a Magyars mirror match. And the purpose of this particular video is going to be to showcase two things. One, the importance of concealing information, and two, just how one single civilization can have so many different play styles associated with it, and viable ones too. What makes the Magyars such a generally decent civilization is exactly how adaptable they are. And I picked the Magyars mirror because I feel like it's something that we just never really see. So, look at how perfect this is. Having the sheep adjacent to each other, how nice. That way the villagers, they just have to turn around, and boom, you're good. Except I think Dogao is gonna minorly screw up here, because ideally you wanna time it so your border lure ends up and there's no sheep that is decaying. So, build order not exactly perfect, but that is okay. Let's talk a little bit more about build orders, though. What's going on here? But first, before that, Jonesy, again, thank you so much for subscribing to Twitch Prime. For those of you of Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to me on Twitch for free. And if you're a YouTube viewer and you just do that, that helps out so much. It's literally free if you have Amazon Prime. Just go to Twitch Prime. Thank you, Renegade AOC, as well, for doing that. So, what's up with these build orders? We're seeing 3 on wood for both players, so when exactly is that a good idea? I generally recommend 4 on wood, unless you're planning to fast castle age and push deer. I generally recommend 4 on wood. One cool trick that we saw over here, by the way, was that Hera actually didn't have enough wood to build this mill initially, because he's building all these palisades over here, right? So you know what he did? Instead of having his villager just wait there idle, he actually had the villager gather food from the forage bush, and then start building the mill. And then no food is lost there, as the villager will immediately drop the food off once the mill is completed, and then continue gathering from the forage bush. Now, this particular villager does have quite a bit of distance to walk, should actually be manually retasked onto this bush for maximum efficiency. It's those little things that really help claw your way into an advantageous position in a high-level Age of Empires 2 game. And now this is an excellent, immaculately well-done board lure here by Hera. Again, almost completely under the town center. These villagers, I don't think, have to walk really much at all, and there's no sheep that are decaying right now. And we see here, the first farm comes down for Hera, and Dogao, also, again, following about the same build order. But here's the interesting thing. Let's take a look at the maps. This is a very safe bet gold. This is not necessarily safe secondary gold, only because you're probably gonna wall this. And if you wall right here, then you've got some very nice, easily lurable deer, which explains the 3 on wood early for Dogao, definitely. Will allow him to have a very strong economy. And Well, he's doing some scouting right about now, so let's go follow his scouting. He's got some very safe base, and see what he sees. Scouting is one of the most important things in high-level Age of Empires 2 that doesn't often get covered by commentators. Anyone can point out what exactly is just happening on the screen, but scouting is so important because in Age of Empires 2, you have to be able to read what your opponent is doing. Every game of Aoe2 is different. You can't just rigidly follow the exact same build order and expect success. Because your opponent's buildings could be in different locations, the maps can have a completely different layout, even a Civ mirror match like this. All depends on what you know. So what does Dogao know? He knows there's a lumber camp right here, a berries at the back that's relatively safe because there's a town center. He hasn't seen the town center, but the farm right there guarantees that's where it's placed. But he's leaving awfully early. Why is he doing that? Because I mentioned earlier, by going for 3 on wood initially instead of 4, what you're doing is you're signifying that you're probably going to be pushing deer to try and make up for the lack of wood that you'd otherwise have. And then, because if you go over 4 on wood, then you're able to build additional farms. So he's actually going to pull back his scout early, and he's going to get a nice little bit of free damage. Scout HP also matters a lot, and having 1 HP less isn't that significant, but scouts are like an extra military unit in the early game. So if you're trying to apply any pressure whatsoever, it's very important that you keep that scout HP high. Jungle Misk asks, is it wise to start farming while still having your second boar and several sheep? I feel like it isn't good considering you start losing that 60 wood earlier. I recommend watching my Night Rush tutorial and following that build order and starting to build farms around that time. I think it's okay to build the first farm while the second boar is going on, but I wouldn't build them really much sooner than that. So both players, again, getting double bid axe and horse collar immediately, assuming, and that signifies to us that we're engaging in a feudal war here. And nice, a double deer lure here. That third deer honestly might be a little bit too far out of reach, but here's the odd thing. Hera also opened up with 3 on wood, but Hera did not actually go for a deer lure of any kind, so Hera is going to be at a very slight economic disadvantage. This is a lot of food, okay? This is 280 food that villagers gather from fairly efficiently, actually. They gather from it quicker than they do from farms, forage bushes, and sheep. So, and that's for free, essentially. Or is it? And then this is when the Vsauce music plays yet again. Is it for free? No, because we just remembered, the word of the day, for once, is not clumping. It's actually scouting. Dogao, in order to boost his eco by 280 food, is that 280 food worth it to have no knowledge of this camp? In fact, to have very little knowledge of your opponent's base at all, or key points to raid. The only thing he knows is that there's a vulnerable lumber camp at the front, and there's a huge hill here. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Hera, not born yesterday, is of course just going to wall this hill up at the top and make it very difficult for Dogao to exploit that and then try and camp that hill to the best of his abilities. Now Dogao's going to try and do some walling too, recognizing that he has a really, really nice map generation. These half-built palisade foundations are there to protect these villagers from any scout raiding, which we expect scouts in a Magyars mirror match, given that the Magyars get, you can just check out the bonuses for yourself real quick, that their scouts, like Cavalry and Hussar, cost 15% less, used to be 10%, I suggest we buff it to 15%, and I'm glad that Cision agreed with that one. And there we go. Very strong scout rushing civilization, and also they get free forging, iron casting, and blast furnace. No blacksmith required anymore. It's weird though, this civ used to be the best of the forgotten civilizations until the rest of them were overbuffed and then people bandwagon. This civ was never as bad as people said it was, but it definitely did deserve some buffs, and now I think it's in quite a solid situation. So Scout Rush, again, fairly predictable from the Magyars, but both these players are just going to wall up. And Dogao's got really, like, no information whatsoever. But we saw, the key thing here that I want to emphasize is exactly how aggressive Hera was with the scouting. Hera traded 280 food, for free, to know the locations of 1, this gold mine, this lumber camp, and the secondary lumber camp. Oh my. Oh my. That's worth it. Or at least it's close to. Because Generally speaking, once you get to 4 villagers per lumber camp is the most efficient, but is not always practical. Good control here, by the way, by Hera, not losing a scout here. I think most players would have not split off and then end up losing the scout with the low HP. It would have been quite bad. Even manages to actually pull the wolf into the spearman, nice. And now the scouts have to rescue it. The thing is though, is that you're gonna want 2 lumber camps basically every game Age of Empires too. You know, usually I put like 5 or 6 per. It's fine. You're never gonna be able to be like maximum efficiency at all times. And here we see 4, 5, and there's like like 6 and 5. And you really want to know where your opponent's secondary lumber camp is when you're trying to pressure them at any point during the game. Not knowing where this one is really bad, and not knowing really anything about Hera's map is quite bad. Playing in the dark? Well, how do you know what units to go for? Then the Vsauce music plays. So, yeah, how do you know what units to go for if you don't know what your opponent's map looks like? Well, you can always just try and brute force it in there. Let's see if Hera will be able to stop it in time. Ah, yes, Hera will be able to by building a house instead of attempting to repair the palisade wall, which is smart. And now, Hera advancing to the Castle Age. Fairly nice. Again, this is a little slower. The 3-on Woodfast Castle Age build is a bit slower than it normally otherwise would be. You know, if you're going for scouts and you're not actually luring any of the deer, but I would say it's worthwhile to know where your opponent's pressure points are. You want to know where that secondary lumber camp is. Dogao does not know where that is. Dogao barely knows the boundaries of Hera's base. In fact, his scouting is extremely poor. And so, for example, if he knew about this lumber camp over here, he would go for ranged units 100% of the time, 100% of the time, because he would be able to pressure both lumber camps over the other side of the trees fairly easily. In fact, it almost makes me think that Hera should have built the lumber camp back here, but even then, still vulnerable to Bodkin Arrow with either Cav Archers or the Crossman unit. So both these players not really able to do too much with their scouts. What they're trying to do is isolate their opponents, keep them stuck inside their own bases, and just secure map control. Dogao going to be close to a minute behind Hera in the Castle Age timing. But you know what's nice about full walling? Concealing information. So Dogao might not know that much about the map. He doesn't know there's a lumber camp here. So why is he doing this? I gotta slow this down for a sec. Why is he doing this? Also, wait, because we got a sick fight. I'll cover it after this fight. Or I lied. He's gonna pull back. Alright, that's fine, it's fine, fine. So anyway, why is Dogao going for the... Ooh, no. He split up his scouts. But he's gonna win the battle anyway. Well played, well played. Bowsaw immediately being researched, Heavy Plow immediately being researched to bolster the Zika. Okay, so Dogao is making one of the sickest plays ever. He doesn't know this lumber camp is here, because I think he was a little too ginger with his scouting, but he knows that this is a thin, very, very thin wood line. So, 3 archer ranges, Cav Archers, Magyars, hell yeah! I love it. But the best part is, he's bluffing. He's bluffing. He got bloodlines, right? And he's revealed the bloodlines on purpose. On purpose to Hera. That's what I love about the Aoe2 Expert Series. And if you've been enjoying this so far, please check out all the other videos on my YouTube channel. I have so many in the Aoe2 Experts playlist. If you haven't seen them all, leave a like, leave a comment, check them out. And subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notification for that. He is baiting poor old Hera over here into thinking that the Knights are coming. Of course you think the Knights are coming. We saw the Scout Rush. We see the Bloodlines upgrade purposely revealed here. And the Scouts looking for an opportunity to try and get in there. Will they be able to? Well, now, here comes the deer. And the Knights moving out with the Bloodlines upgrade. The free Iron Casting, not bad, not bad. But the Cavalry Archers are on their way out. Now, this is a slow build. It's a slow build, but Hera has no idea that that's what's inside. And now, surprise! Gonna take a lot of damage. Just kidding, actually, because the Cavalry Archers are hilariously inaccurate. They're seriously really, they can't hit anything. And meanwhile, Dogao's actually in the base. He's in the base, forcing some idle time with the scouts, not bad. And really what Hera's trying to do here is boom. And this is what I mean by, you know, you know, for a comedic effect, I'll say the play of the century. This is an excellent play. By faking, by going for the bloodlines, revealing it by having your scouts attack there. Good players always keep track of their opponent's upgrades. And by going for the Scout Rush initially, and by playing the Magyars, you're thinking Knights, Knights, Knights. Who the fuck makes Cavalry Archers? Dogao does. And as a result, what Hera thought he'd get away with was booming with the defensive monastery to make monks to defend against the enemy knights that were supposed to be coming. And why is Hera doing this boom? Because Hera's map is absolutely insane. Both of the secondary golds are safe in the main base. That's nuts. And the main stone as well at the back. This is one of the better maps I've seen. The only part is that there is a vulnerable stone mine and a vulnerable portion of the base on this hill right here. But really, the Cavalry Archer play, I think, is brilliant because it just wasn't revealed in time, and it's got so much mobility. Now let's see how well these villagers handle this. The sniping's coming in, but the Cavalry Archers, they've got weak accuracy compared to crossbowmen. And they're very, very expensive. No cost reduction here. We generally only see Cavalry Archers being utilized as the Huns because of their cost reduction. But how well can these Knights take them on? Because the Knights are actually a decent counter to the Cavalry Archer, but the Cavalry Archer is just a teeny bit faster. And with the hill advantage and some good micro, let's see if the focus fire is here. It is. Try and find the ones with low HP. But he's going to get zoned off the hill and take a lot of free damage, which is unfortunate. Will Dogao lose all of his Cavalry Archers here? I'm going to say the answer is almost definitely yes. He even loses Cavalry Archer to conversion. These Cavalry Archers are trapped. They are doing plenty of damage, and I love to see this type of play. I love to see it. I do. Look at how much of a nuisance he's being with this micro. It's just awesome to see this in action. And again, this is just because of the debate. Hera expected Knights. So this monastery, I mean, you can't really do anything with this monastery. It's so bad versus the Cavalry Archers because the Cavalry Archers have the range to take out the monk extremely quickly. So really, Hera's just using the monk for scouting vision. That's right. Just because the monk has an excellent line of sight of 9, just to try and see where these Cavalry Archers are. And now they've discovered the other wood line. Absolute disaster for Hera. Hera's going to now have to move the wood line all the way over here, which will still be fairly vulnerable. Meanwhile, these Cavalry Archers still wreaking havoc, but eventually they will get picked off. So really, Hera is getting destroyed by Magyars Cavalry Archers, and I love it. And the only reason this is working is because Hera didn't see it coming. This information was concealed behind these palisade walls, and so Hera thought it was Knights, and Hera was baited into it by seeing the Bloodlines upgrade, which signifies the probably committing to Knights. With the Scouts initially as well, it's also just such a slow build. But Dogao, one of the reasons why this is working for him is based off the way the map is laid out. These are two very thin wood lines that are very easily harassable. So even though Hera has the map of gods, by baiting Hera into this kind of like defensive, like, you know, too stable monastery booming style of play, leaves him very vulnerable to Cavalry Archers, and basically gives Dogao complete map control. Husbandry and chain barding armor coming down for Hera. And husbandry is absolutely essential when you're trying to deal with the enemy Cavalry Archers, especially after it got the cost reduction in the food department. I think it's like 100 food now instead of 200. It's a really efficient upgrade. So let's talk a little bit about Cavalry Archers. They are generally, like, why not crossbows, right? Well, here's the thing. If you end up going for this Cavalry Archer build, it's slow because it requires way too many upgrades. So if we compare them to crossbows, they have 50% accuracy compared to 85%, which is really bad. And you can't start maxing them up in the feudal age, which is also bad. They have twice the frame delay of a crossbow, so it's 10 versus 5. Basically, these are terrible without thumb ring, and they ideally need ballistics too, and you need a stable. But here's the thing that people don't often consider is that the Cavalry Archer is less cost efficient than a crossbowman is until you get bloodlines. But if you're playing as the Magyars, you went for a Scout Rush, you already had the stable, you're probably fine. Once you get the bloodlines upgrade, they actually do become more cost efficient than the crossbowmen. The main issue with this army is that it's just so slow to get this out. So you're going to have to pray that your opponent is thinking that they're safe. and going for a more boom-oriented build, a more defensive-oriented build, giving you the time to do this, and also just by concealing the information. And then hopefully your opponent just goes for the wrong build entirely, attempting to counter something that you weren't even going to do. 4D chess is what makes Cavalry Archers good. Also, if you can exploit their mobility, and that's what he's doing here. Look how annoying it's going to be to dislodge these Cavalry Archers. This stack of them is just so obnoxious. It's a single tile wide gap right here. It's gonna be so hard to remove that. So very hard indeed. And the other time that Cavalry Archers are better than crossmen, because generally you want to go for crossmen, are one when if you're the Magyars and you're really thinking about the Imperial Age, because recurve bow is really good. Now that it gives +1 range and +1 attack. Look at how much he's struggling to remove these. Recurve bow is really good. So if you're thinking long term and you're okay with not having that initial castle age pressure, this is good. Assuming you're going for the recurve bow style thing. And also if you're just taking full advantage of the mobility. God, look, these knights, they're bugging out. This isn't even HD. They can't touch them. Can't touch them. Dogao's being such a dick. Look at this. Look at those knights. I can't. There we go. There we go. Who's a good boy? You are. Gonna get him. No, all right. So here's the thing. You have to exploit the movement speed on the Cavalry Archers for them to really pay dividends. Dogao collected a relic. Not bad. Not bad. Ah, and he's trying to come in with the double battering rams here, but Hera has the high ground and a lot of knights. And here's the thing. Once again, concealing information. You know what Dogao has no idea of? I mean, you know, sorry. You know what Hera has no idea of? Ziberics! What happened? Surprise! Pikemen out of nowhere. Suddenly, pikemen out of nowhere. However, they actually get cleaned up. And they get cleaned up because these knights have max upgrades, and when you have bloodlines, that's an additional pikeman hit required to kill them. I think it's 6 from 5. So, yeah, it requires an additional hit. And that's very significant. These are max upgrade knights, and he had the high ground. So, I like it. He's putting a siege workshop here, which will allow him to siege this. This area is very, very vulnerable, but this is such a contrast in playstyles that I really wanted to highlight here today between these two Magyars players. In that one of them is going for what we consider to be the standard Magyar style of play, the masked knights, and then we have the more balanced style of play. This is the kind of one that I like a little bit better, but it can be worse in a lot of situations. And I like the Dogao is now like prepping with some full stone walls at the back. This is very, very nice, just protecting his base to the best of his abilities. Wow, he plays like we do. Look at this, building your houses neatly up against the edge of the map. You go, Dogao. So what I like about this army, though, compared to this army, is cost efficiency. In that, once Dogao gets to the Imperial Age, there we go, getting that crucial thumb ring upgrade. Otherwise, these guys can't hit a stationary object. It's just awful. It's so bad. Hera getting that light cav upgrade. I like the idea. I do. Yeah, just as a way to deal with this army. But really, this is more cost efficient. Provided you can keep this army alive, you should be good to go. Castle coming down, I think in an excellent position. This is actually pretty hard to treb because you can't really easily deploy a treb right here without it being way too close to the siege workshops. And the battering rams coming down for both players. And now these Cavalry Archers trying to do some eco-harassment, but maybe he's going to take some damage from those knights. Notice how Hera's spreading out the knights to try and get close, but both players have husbandry. And the first player to get the Imperial Age will come out on top in this situation, you'd think normally, because then they get the first treb out. But here's the thing. Hera's an imp first, but Hera's got no castle. So what's Hera gonna do? Get Cap Ram or something? No, gonna get Cavaliers. He's gonna run straight into a castle, and then once again, scouting information really comes into play here. Oh, he should not try and focus fire down that monk. That is not worth it. That's not worth it, buddy. Dogao collecting another relic, because again, he's got map control. He's got map control, and that's what Cavalry Archers get you. I love this castle placement because not only is it on a slightly elevated position, but it also protects the spawn points of all these barracks. Corbik, thank you so much for tuning in. It's okay, I know you're all tired. Keep us asked, does Rose watch these games or cast them on stream? I watched the first like 15 to 20 minutes just to determine if it's a good game, but I never watched the full game, no. Otherwise, it's boring. So I have no idea what happens at this point, but I'll either watch the first like 15 to 20 minutes, or I'll look at some of the text research to determine if it's an interesting game. And I'll also look at the game duration. Like, I don't typically cast games that are 20-minute stomp fests. But what I did is I looked at the research tab on AOC Zone, and I was like, wow, this is two very different contrasting playstyles, so I would love to cast this game. And we see here, this is how you use Cavalry Archers and actually make them good. Is, look at the way he's boxed them in here. Seriously, these Cavaliers just cannot touch these Cav Archers at all. And now the Halberdiers coming down, showing the versatility of the Magyars as a civilization. They can go for anything. But how will Hera react? Well, Hera's finally going to build that castle, but I don't know where the castle is. Okay, so this one I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know if there's room for that in the high ground. At least it's far enough away that it's not directly within Treb range, even though it is on the low ground. There's no hill nearby it that is a significant security risk, so that's fine. And, ooh, recurve bow coming down for Dogao. Elite Skirmisher is going to be the response. And Paladin. So two, again, completely polar opposite playstyles here. We're going to see, I hope, heavy Cavalry Archers plus Halberdiers from Dogao, our blue Magyars player, versus the Paladins plus Elite Skirmishers. Now, what I like about mixing in Elite Skirmishers here, I think is absolutely brilliant. Reason being is, yeah, is he gonna get this relic still? Look at this guy. Doesn't give a fuck. Wow. Wow. I would be terrified if I was that monk, but he's old. He's been around the block. He barely has any hair left at all. He's just fine. Look at the way he just jukes all those arrows like he's in the Matrix. Not bad, not bad. Parthian tactics coming down here. So we'll see what's the better playstyle. What I like about the skirms is that going for just mass paladins, we've seen this time and time again, it's just too costly when you're playing against someone who's going for something like mass Cav Archers. Now, Cav Archers are really expensive. Even though the gold cost got reduced, they're still really expensive. So it got reduced from 70 to 60 in the expansions. And that makes them a decent consideration of a unit for civs like the Magyars once you get that recurve bow. Look at that. 8 range. Oh, yeah. Look at the stats. Now he just needs the heavy Cav Archer upgrade, and then he's just good to go. But right now, Hera's waiting for that Paladin upgrade, and now he's beginning the siege with the Trebuchet. What I like about this is that I believe this Trebuchet is just barely covered by this castle's range, just barely. And Mangonel's in the high ground as well. I like that too. Just don't get baited in, and then I think you're fine, Hera. I think you're fine. Just don't take any free damage on your Paladins, or any units at all. Just keep sieging. Keep sieging, you're good to go. In fact, even get siege engineers if you'd like. Ballistics coming down for Hera to try and make the Elite Skirmishers just a little bit more accurate. 2-man saw. Heavy Cavalry Archer coming down. Check out the stats on these bad boys and that upgrade is completed. It is pretty insane. And now the fight's happening. So right now, Hera's trying to create space to see what he can accomplish with these capped rams while the rest of his army fights these Halberdiers. Now, these Elite Skirmishers do have, it's at least +3 versus attack bonus versus Halberdiers, so it does help out a little bit, but it's not great. And Dogao, master of AOC, he actually remembers to get Masonry in a situation where he's getting sieged. But again, this is why I love his castle positioning, because it is on the high ground, so it is taking 25% reduced damage, to the point actually where Hera has retargeted his trebuchets and is actually going for the barracks instead. And I like this play. I do. Why? Because Dogao is hiding his Cavalry Archers between these barracks. And that's the weakness of the Paladin army, especially if this was AoE2 HD. Good God. You'd never be able to touch these Cavalry Archers because they can just squeeze in such tight spaces. I love it. I love it. And the Elite Skirmishers, by the way, deal the bonus damage to Cav Archers and Archers as well. So that's a lot of extra bonus damage, and I don't have time to check exactly right now what the exact value is. But essentially, Elite Skirmishers are the way to go here as a really cost-efficient counter. And yeah, just protect the Trebs. See, I don't know who wins this game. Like, I don't know how either, but it looks like we're going to see another transition. Nice, nice, nice. Hera selling 500 wood to rebalance the eco, something more players should be doing. Another castle coming down. Wow, such a nice defensible position, but look at the stats on these. 12 attack is amazing, 80 HP. These are so powerful units. However, they are countered by two, well actually they're countered by all three trash units. It's just that if you have Parthian tactics, which the Magyars do, then you are able to deal with the pikeman line as long as you can micro reasonably well. But they are just countered by trash units pretty hard. And right now, Dogao's running into the main problem with, here's the problem with his army comp, which he's recognizing right now. It is better, I think, than Hera's. I think it is better, as we can see by Hera winning this battle, but losing the war. Like, losing the castle is huge, and losing all the buildings is also massive. Is he targeting the heavy Cav Archers? I can't tell. I actually legitimately can't tell. So, I think that Dogao has the better army, but he's realized there's one critical weakness in this army comp when you go for Halberdiers plus the heavy Cav Archers. You have no clean answer to Trebs, so that's where the mass stables is coming in, and again, we see just a very good game of Age of Empires 2 here. They got a lot of great examples of these. I'm not exactly sure what to title this video, I'm always open to suggestions, but this is like, to me this is two things. The importance of concealing information from your opponent. Ah yes, here comes the thumb ring. Nice. And also just two really contrasting different playstyles for the same civilization and seeing how they match up. Will these Treb shots land on the heavy Cav Archers? They do, wow. Dealing tons of damage. But the Cav Archers, they are on the high ground, so not bad, not bad. Should probably redeploy these, I don't know. Thumb ring and chemistry, nice. Just getting all the upgrades for the elite skirmishers. So, yeah, I don't know. The problem is for Dogao is that he's losing map control now. He's losing map control and leaving himself vulnerable to potential raiding from these hussars. In fact, forcing a town center to come down to protect this gold mine over here. Interesting that Dogao is actually just rallying his hussars over here, but when you tech into paladins, you have a pretty easy answer to these hussars. No hussar upgrade, by the way, for Hera, but the hussar upgrade is notoriously overcost in Age of Empires 2. It's like 600 food and 500 gold for basically 15 extra HP, and I think a slightly increased attack bonus versus some units. It's really overcosted, but 15 extra HP does add up. It does, if you're able to afford it. It's a luxury tech. So really, the elephant in the room is not an elephant at all. It's actually a trebuchet. Can these trebuchets actually be safely removed? Well, here's one way to do it. Did you know the capped rams have an attack bonus versus all siege weapons? Oh, no, but he can't get in there. He can't do it. He can't do it. Oh, disaster. He's got the hill. I love Dogao's army. It's more cost efficient. But now, Hera's learning. Hera, well, is also running out of gold. But Hera is now using more cost efficient units. And we see the weakness of the heavy cavalry archer. We see the weakness of it. I think the tech into Hussar just came a little too late, and in fact, I think some Magyar Hussars would have been amazing, honestly. It's a shame that I never really see them in competitive play, because that unit is really good. Once you get the mercenary upgrade for them, and you get the elite upgrade, I mean, it's a Hussar but better, and it has an attack bonus versus siege weapons. It's such a strong unit because it doesn't cost gold, it's a trash unit. And again, we see Dogao is losing to siege weapons, so he wants Magyar Hussars. Here's the problem. He has no stone for castles, and he just lost all of his castles. He's gonna build one over here, too. That's really risky, man. That's Trev fodder. I would have built that castle over here to protect these farmers, I think, but, I don't know. I guess he wants to protect this stone. Actually, no, this castle placement's fine, because it protects this stone, and he just wants another stone mine. I'd really like to see some Magyar Hussars. I really, really would. And now the Trebs have redeployed, and they're just going to keep wreaking havoc, because these Hussars are not powerful enough, and there's not enough gold for Dogao to actually tech into Paladins if he wanted to. He just cannot do it. He can't do it. So I'd really like to see Mercenaries and the Magyar Hussar, but he doesn't really have the gold for that either, does he? We go back to Dogao's for a second. Man, it doesn't quite. He just doesn't have an answer to these trebuchets. He doesn't. They're so low in HP. Oh, but he's going to try at the capped ram. Ooh, he's going to try at the capped ram, and he gets one. Will he get another one? Because he's going to have to manually... Oh my god, he's going to pick them off. Nicely done by Dogao. Again, the heavy Cavalry Archers are so disgustingly cost-efficient from a resource standpoint with recurve bow as the Magyars. It's just that he has to be really careful because he's very weak to siege weapons. And also, they're very weak to trash units. So he has to be careful to keep his army alive. And he's going to do it! Dogao turning this around with the sheer cost efficiency of it. And also... because Hera's opted to split his army up a little bit and try and do some raiding. Really keep these town centers idle. And ooh, some less than exceptional micro by Dogao will mean that he will lose almost all of his heavy cavalry archers here, I think. Or they're just going to get stuck. No. No, he is going to resign. So, Hera ends up losing this game. And that just goes to show the power of recurve bow. Ever since that buff, like a heavy cavalry archer is an underrated unit. Underrated unit. To think that Hera could to think that Dogao could actually come back from this game, from losing everything in the middle, is pretty mind-numbing when you think about it. But he was only able to do that because he teched into Hussars. If he didn't tech into Hussars immediately and played as well as he did, he would have absolutely lost to Hera. Hera had what appeared to be an insurmountable lead, but Dogao was like, okay, so I really need to conserve gold because I need every single penny for my own heavy cavalry archers. So what do I do? Hussars, and then try and take out the Trebs with capped rams, which he actually managed to succeed at doing. And I think that the moment that Hera realized that he was losing map control, that was it, basically. That was it. Like, Dogao now has enough resources to build another castle if he wanted to. And it is just being raided. Hera's being raided by Hussars on all sides. And then at this point in the game, when you've lost map control and your military population is about 50 below your opponent, you're in deep trouble. And I would attribute a lot of this victory early on, again, to our good friend the Cavalry Archer, because Dogao had 4 relics for a good chunk of that game. Remember that Fearless Monk earlier? That was not bad indeed. Not bad indeed. Allowing him to gather so much relic gold. But how much? Well, we'll turn on the Vsauce music and find out. For those of you who are watching on YouTube or on Twitch chat, can you guess, how much relic gold do you think Dogao generated over the course of that game as we scroll through the achievements? Yeah, as Drakey says, he used up all of his resources on Paladins and he barely took out the base. Yeah, as soon as he lost the Trebuchets, he really felt like he had kind of lost that one. Green had 0 relics. JT Lonely Eye says 2,000k. Good lord. Alright, we'll see, we'll see. We'll see. But overall, just a really close game. I mean, Hera was faster at all stages of the game, but without the castle, the First Imperial Age didn't really matter. It didn't. And the answer is 2,161 gold. So McKay was the first person to guess remotely close. Yeah, and then Robsy just basically on the ball, yep. Over 9,000, exactly, guys. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. As always, I really appreciate the support, especially for the content beyond just Age of Empires 2. Hopefully I'm not speaking to a brick wall, because sometimes I feel like I am. But if you want me to continue doing more AoE 2 content, and you want to see more AoE content, then that's the best way to encourage me to do that. So, you know, please check out that Meteos video if you're watching live, for example. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then by the time I post this on YouTube, I'll probably have already posted all the Ace Attorney videos, so definitely check those out. And of course, as part of my outro, again, I would much rather do this than have to relegate myself to another miserable cubicle job. So please, you know, consider either pledging a little bit on Patreon, watching at least 30 seconds of an ad, so that way I get a little bit of ad revenue instead of skipping it. You know, maybe use it as an opportunity to, you know, do some drugs or something, or, I don't know, grab a glass of water is probably the healthier option. That's actually objectively the healthier option, so you should probably be doing that instead of drugs during my ad breaks. Consider pledging on Patreon and spreading the word on social media, on various community hubs, like Reddit, for example. Thank you so much, Chippa, for subscribing. If you have Amazon Prime, then you can subscribe for free with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Chippa, for the 6-month resub. But yeah, share my content around, leave a like, leave a comment. I really appreciate everybody. Thank you, because I had to spend like all week just doing nothing but just job interviews, and it's so draining. It's so draining when I could be streaming. I could be streaming IC, I could be streaming other games, but it'd be nice to go full time. And with your support, if all you come back next week and you all come back to all my streams and follow me, then maybe we can make this happen. We are running a little low on time to make this happen, but it would be great to see some channel growth, and we can do it all with your support, so thank you. Please follow my social media, and thanks so much for watching. It will get demonetized, Twist, but I'm gonna win it anyway, don't worry. As long as enough people actually watch it. I just need more people to, you know, go to my YouTube channel, click subscribe, and turn that notification button on. Yeah, just gotta grow the viewer base. And, you know, also just constructive feedback too. What are some things you'd like to see? I'm shifting more toward a quality expert game style a video, you know, back to the ye olden days when I basically just cast all the time. I've always casted games, but now I'm doing more of those than just community games because those tend to be low quality. But now I get to make sure that every game is a good one. And also, this will generally result in shorter videos too, except for this one. I picked this one because this was a slugfest and the previous match was shorter in comparison, so. Alas, Cheesesteak Jimmy's, I have a really finite amount of stamina, so I can't cast a third game. It's a miracle that I could cast 2 after, you know, doing essentially a 2-hour job interview literally right before the stream. So, yeah. Thank you so much, Drakey, for the $5. Drakey says, that was a cool game. Thanks for keeping me entertained for a few hours the last 2 days. Really glad to hear it, Drakey, and it's good to have you back in the community. It's been a while. Thank you, Racing Razor, for subscribing with Twitch Prime for free. Thank you. Y'all can do that on YouTube as well. Seriously, thank you. Pleasure to have you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. If you are bored, don't worry. I will, let me see. There might be another channel I can host. But also, I really just encourage you to go to my YouTube page right now and just watch some videos, like some videos. Check out that variety playlist. Check out my expert playlist. Support the channel, and I'll see you all, well, next week, but several times next week. Hopefully I don't, you know, hopefully I get to, you know, continue doing this on like a full-time basis. That would be nice. Because right now I just spent so much time with job interviews because I'm not sure. Not sure if we can do it, but maybe we can do it. Thank you for watching. Let's see. I have a command for the variety playlist. I have a command for the expert games. I believe I do. So here we go. Here is the Aoe2 playlist and variety playlist. Gonna run a quick ad, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching and being awesome. I read all your comments, and I honestly am honored to have such a wonderful community. Thank you so much.